Okay.
Okay. I will
Thank you
prepare to
very much.
share my
See you later.
screen. You could confirm that you're able to see the screen once I share. All right. Are you able to see the screen?
Okay, it's fine.
Perfect.
Okay,
Perfect.
your presentation is online. We are just hearing you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. So I'm excited to be here and talk a little bit about the future of finance and accounting, or the future of controllership in a digital age. As he said, I'm L'Oreal Giles. I'm currently Vice President of Research and Thought Leadership at the Institute of Management Accountants, the IMA. And I joined IMA following 15 years of experience in the energy industry. That was in finance, accounting, technology, and transformation roles. And the last role that I had in industry was standing up a robotic process automation and artificial intelligence program for a global finance function within the energy industry. So I bring some of those experiences to this discussion, as well as some of the experiences gained through the research in the last few years while serving at the IMA. So again, really excited to get started with this conversation. I'll walk through, as we get started, a few mega trends, a few bigger picture items that are affecting the profession. We'll talk about the impetus for transformation, why we're having the transformation that's underway across our profession toward this more digital finance, if you will. We'll talk a little bit about what the future looks like, and I'll do that through sharing some findings, recent findings from research that IMA did with Deloitte that we just released earlier this month. I'll also share a few use cases from some of our corporate partners that are currently transforming, and I'll talk through some of the ways in which they're transforming, and then we'll talk through a little bit of how we could prepare our functions for the future. So I'll start with some of the key mega trends first. One of them, hopefully, we all have an appreciation for this now. Remote work will become the norm for employees in finance and accounting functions. We see that now accelerated with the global pandemic, and hopeful to see that become more of a norm in the future. ESG, environmental, social, and governance reporting, will become more important. What we've seen from a controllership perspective is well beyond ESG reporting becoming more important, is this emphasis on sustainable business information and management. We, as members of the controllership function or finance and accounting functions, have a responsibility just as much for the reporting of this information as for the gathering and the generation of the information, providing assurance for its accuracy, and supporting the leadership of some of those sustainable business management initiatives. What we also see is enterprise risk management, increased responsibility in that space. We've always played a critical role there, but now increasingly accountable for risk assessments and generating risk profiles as we evaluate investment decisions, new product or service lines within organizations. DE&I becoming more of a competitive differentiator. There's been a groundswelling of discussion around DE&I and action toward that over the last couple of years, especially in the accounting and finance profession. And what we've seen is research has shown greater diversity in leadership teams yields greater performance, and in many instances, greater inclusion also yields greater innovation. And we certainly need greater innovation to be able to meet future business demands as a function. What we see also, automation will accelerate. I'm hopeful that that's some of what you've been talking about in today's session, and what I'll get into a little bit more in this particular segment. But automation is certain to accelerate given the capabilities of digital tools that are at our fingertips today. And there will be greater demand for upskilling and continuing education for professionals. So your participation in events like the one today are certainly a testament to your recognition of that. So we'll jump into the impetus for transformation. So why we're having this conversation in the first place. The accelerated pace of change and technology advancements are increasing the accessibility of data and forcing businesses to operate in a more competitive landscape. As a result of that, business leaders are demanding more of the controllership function, of the finance function. Business leaders are seeking agile, data-backed insights from us, as well as elevated strategic decision support. And that's giving rise to functional transformation. While it's often characterized solely as digital transformation because of the need for functional teams to leverage digital technology, in many respects, there's, I'd say, an even greater focus on the talent pipeline, specifically ensuring the presence of a diverse talent pool and teams that are equipped with the right technical capabilities and leadership and people skills. And of course, in today's segment, we'll focus on those technical capabilities. If we think about bigger picture for automation, automation is having a wide-reaching impact on the workforce. Bloomberg has developed a tool that's simulating the chances of jobs across a host of professions being impacted by automation. And it combined wage and education requirements data in that specific study from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics with data on the probability of automation. And that simulation revealed that accountant and auditor jobs are 94% likely to be impacted by automation. Another noteworthy observation that we saw is that accountant and auditor jobs are among only 9 professions that require a bachelor's degree that are more than 90% likely to be impacted by automation. So what we recognized with that is we need to operate in acknowledgement of the role that automation is playing. It will impact and affect the work that we're performing today. And where we'd like to go is be on the front end, be on the proactive side of implementing some of those decisions that are made, some of those automation initiatives. Another study that I wanted to highlight initially is McKinsey conducted a detailed analysis of finance and accounting processes and automation software capability. And McKinsey found that the capability of automation tools that existed in 2018, so 4 years ago, could fully automate 42% of finance and accounting activities and mostly automate a further 19%. The figure that you see on this screen, I created when doing some research for RPA and artificial intelligence. And this figure combines a summary of finance and accounting tasks evaluated in that McKinsey study with other controllership functions and activities that we perform today. And it's intended to present relative complexity of process areas and their relative likelihood of being automated. So the figure is demonstrating this correlation between process complexity and automation likelihood. And it's highlighting processes traditionally performed by entry-level accounting and finance staff or individual contributors as most likely to be automated. What it's saying is as the relative complexity of the tasks increases, so the higher you go up the pyramid, the automation likelihood reduces for current technological capabilities. And I love to call this slide out because it calls out some of the common activities that we're performing in today's world that are likely to be automated, your AP, AR, payroll reconciliations, cash disbursement. And those activities can be automated, not even with using intelligent automation in many instances. In many instances, you can use traditional automation or RPA, which we'll talk about in a few minutes here. But what you see as you go up the pyramid, you need, if you want to automate any component of those processes, to leverage intelligent automation or pair traditional automation with artificial intelligence to be able to get the insights that are needed. I'll do a couple of slides next on robotic process automation, and then we'll share a few use cases for data analytics and artificial intelligence. As we think about RPA, this technology that's mimicking the clicks and the keystrokes of human users, and it's leveraging effectively process documentation. When we think about robotic process automation, we think of your traditional RPA tools, but there are a host of business process automation solutions that are in the market today that have a similar functionality in many instances, perhaps not the same scalability, but similar functionality. And the benefit of these business process automation tools is it alleviates some of that dependency on the information technology function to be able to implement automation solutions and increase efficiency within the function. What we see from a robotic process automation perspective, bots can log into and perform tasks in accounting and operational applications, retrieve data from websites, perform data entry, generate reports, read PDF documents. Some of the use cases that we had when I was overseeing an RPA program we had use cases that included invoice processing. And although we already had straight through processing for the majority of the invoices, we were able to automate exception handling by pairing traditional RPA technology with things like optical character recognition or intelligent character recognition, and leveraging that to read invoices that are in different languages, that are in different currencies, applying exchange rate calculations to those automation workflow solutions as well. So lots and lots of opportunity there. Also, it learning as the bots are processing transactions. We see that able to happen with intelligent RPA, intelligent process automation, even in some instances, that sophisticated pairing of RPA and artificial intelligence. And so with these algorithms that we're able to embed within workflow solutions, we get a more robust or more end-to-end automation solution than we would be able to get in many instances with AI alone or with RPA alone. Other use cases that we've seen for traditional RPA, data input and aggregation, what we've seen on the intelligent automation side, preventative and detective controls, as well as some in the data analytics and AI space, which I'll share a few use cases there in a couple of minutes. For the software, from an RPA perspective, what we've seen happen over the last several years is our leading RPA vendors have invested heavily in developing native solutions available within their workflow design modules and partnering with other leading technology companies to offer a host of integrating technologies. And those integrating technologies are raising the level of complexity of processes that can be automated with RPA or with intelligent automation. And examples of that would be some existing manual processes requiring you reading an email or low quality scanned PDF documents, and taking specific actions based on content or populating extracted data into a data visualization tool, a business intelligence tool, and performing analytics. And in these cases, it may require use of things like natural language processing, intelligent optical character recognition, data analytics and visualization tools. And in many instances, those are available natively within the automation solutions, those platforms, or through integrating drag and drop activities or library components that may be available as well. So that's a little bit of context about robotic process automation and how we're pairing artificial intelligence with robotic process automation to achieve some of those desired outcomes. As we shift gears a little bit now into the data analytics and AI space, what we are accustomed to at the foundational level is four fundamental types of analytics: descriptive analytics, which is addressing what is happening; diagnostic analytics, where we are providing the answer to why something has happened; predictive analytics, as we step into what's likely to happen in the future given the current circumstances; and prescriptive analytics, where we're presenting specific actions that the business should take to increase the likelihood of the future result that we're desiring or that we're anticipating. And as we take that foundational view forward and look at some use cases here, I pulled out a couple of use cases, some in roles where the controllership function or the finance and accounting function is supporting other functional units within the organization. We serve as financial analysts in many instances in support of the human resources function, procurement and supply chain, the legal function. And so I called out a few use cases where finance and accounting staff have supported these respective functions on leveraging data analytics and artificial intelligence. A couple of instances in the human resources space. Through data analytics, HR teams are providing insights on the drivers of turnover rates, expediting and improving the quality of recruitment. And we see that with people analytics, with workforce analytics. We are predicting workforce trends. We can reduce bias in promotions through data analytics as well in the HR space, and prescribe actions that may be needed to maintain a productive and inclusive and an engaged workforce. And some of that comes through some of the employee engagement surveys that we leverage, and applying data analytics to combine that data with other workforce data that may be available. For supply chain and procurement, we see procurement and sourcing teams have a considerable amount of data already at their fingertips, and data analytics allows them to better, or I'd say more efficiently, develop reports, perform spend analysis, assess of suppliers, and new compliance checks. And so a lot of that happening where now they're able to award supplier contracts, real-time pricing and availability. Finance and accounting teams are supporting that analysis, as well as internal and external spend comparisons. From a legal function perspective, in-house legal departments are increasingly asked to report and operate like other business functions. And so they're utilizing data analytics to streamline operations that essentially distract from higher value tasks. And a few of the use cases we had in this instance where finance is partnering with the legal function to implement some of these solutions are aimed at tracking and measuring legal decisions, identifying specific clauses in contracts. We leverage artificial intelligence to go through those contracts, natural language processing, to be able to pull out specific clauses and send them, flag them for review by the lawyers, monitor for law violations, and form better legal decision making as well. And so a lot of that happening in today's world where we're leveraging algorithms that are designed in many instances by legal experts rather than exclusively by technology experts. And we see that same parallel as we think about the work that finance and accounting team members are doing today. A few other data analytics use cases I'll share are specific to the COVID-19 pandemic. The healthcare examples that are called out here, medical imaging, we had computer vision AI-based techniques leveraged to accurately and repeatedly produce CT quantification results in seconds. New drug development, researchers used machine learning models to determine whether a drug would be effective in fighting the virus, and are using historical data in that instance to identify data relaying the effectiveness of other drugs in fighting certain diseases. We saw combating misleading information. Social media companies like Twitter used a deep learning algorithm to separate reliable and authoritative sources from unreliable ones. We also saw models of infection severity. Data analytics was responsible for models of the likelihood of an individual being exposed to COVID-19, that infection risk, the chance that if they're infected, they might require hospitalization or intensive care or ventilator, which is severity risk. And in many instances, they partnered with data analytics experts to be able to accomplish that. For finance and accounting specific examples during the pandemic, we have played a critical role in our respective organizations' recovery, and we've informed key business decisions through insights we derived from data analytics. We have leveraged what I always characterize as unique access to financial and non-financial data that enabled our organizations to better manage cash flow, to identify top products or new products or services that we might need to introduce to the market, forecast demand, assess employment levels, and evaluate financing and investment options. What we saw in the retail sector, finance and accounting teams supported many of the business leaders in the retail sector through something characterized as an information deficit. So the retail industry has been known for quite some time for having access to tons of data and using data analytics for decades, longer than when it was popular, if you will. But what happened at the start of the pandemic is they faced an information deficit because they had a lack of relevant seasonal historical data and relevant customer data, because as they had to close brick and mortar locations or physical storefront locations and convert to online sales in many instances, did their customer base change? Did the needs of their customers change? And so they had to implement several data analytics solutions to be able to predict consumer behavior and to evaluate products and service offerings in those instances as well. So I wanted to share some tangible use cases from a data analytics and an AI perspective in the last few slides there. In this next section, I'll share a few insights for some recent research that's come out with IMA and Deloitte. So hopefully you'll be able to go take a look at some of this research. You'll see this, you can access it for free on IMA's website. But we had these conversations where we said the controllership functions are asking, are we ready to meet future demands? What is our function doing to prepare for the transformation journey that's underway? And how can we identify if the function's current state is where it needs to be relative to expectations? And so we produced in earlier this month, we published Stepping into the Future of Controllership, from Accounting to Insights. The report cover is there on the screen. Again, that can be accessed for free by anyone, and I'll call out a few of those report findings and some of the report methodology. So in the fall of 2021, IMA and Deloitte Center for Controllership conducted a global survey of more than 1,300 finance and accounting analysts, managers, directors, controllers, and CFOs. And following that survey, we also conducted some interviews with some experienced controllership function leaders. When we explored the views of preparedness, nearly 2/3 of respondents, so 62%, reported their controllership function is not prepared or is at most only somewhat prepared to meet future demands. Deloitte developed a framework called Controllership in the Green, and it consists of 4 enablers of controllership delivery that affect change and add value. Those enablers are technology enablement, data and analytics, governance and compliance, and delivery models. And when we explored maturity of controllership functions across these tenets, controllership functions report that they are most mature in the area of technology enablement and delivery models, and least mature in the area of technology, in the areas of data analytics and governance and compliance. So you can see some of those findings at the global level there on the screen. As we take a bit of a comparative view of those findings in recognition of the need to achieve greater maturity in multiple areas, many controllership functions are already taking steps to prepare for the future. More than 3/4 of global and U.S. respondents, so 76%, report their controllership function has already begun or has completed. So 3% said they were done their transformation journeys. 83% of respondents in Europe report that status, that their controllership has already begun the controllership function has already begun their transformation journey. We also asked participants to rank the amount of progress that's needed in their function to meet demands across key activity groups. And resoundingly, global respondents, as well as those in the US and in Europe, indicated financial planning and analysis is the activity group in need of the greatest amount of progress. And that speaks to the themes of today's conversation as we focus on this digital future, data analytics, the intelligent automation, and leveraging those technologies to be able to deliver greater insights. Our respondents pointed to planning, budgeting, and forecasting, strategic business support, and profitability analysis as key development priorities in that area as well. What we need to do in response to that. So given the current state of the profession and key trends we've discussed, there are 3 key actions controllership functions must take to meet future demands. Value creation in the digital age is achievable for controllers when they focus on talent, technology, and transformation. Ensuring a diverse and capable talent pool, effectively leveraging digital technology to efficiently deliver insights, and implementing transformation initiatives that yield flexible organizational structures, multidisciplinary teams. So having teams that have that expertise or those competencies that span not just the finance and accounting core fundamental competencies, but also into the technological space, some digital skills as well as these teams that have agile ways of working. Those are keys to creating value in the digital age and meeting future demands. What I'll do next is share a couple of use cases from some of our corporate partners. Masco Corporation is one that I'll call out first. It's the parent company of more than 30 brands. It's a global leader in design, manufacturing, and distribution of branded home improvement and building products. Some of the popular brands that you may be accustomed to that are under the Masco banner are Delta and Behr. Their CFO essentially spoke to this commitment to finance transformation that involves investing in people, process, and technology. And going a step beyond that, it's building best-in-class teams of finance professionals. We've worked with Masco to develop what they call the Finance Professional Development Program, and it offers 2 tracks that allow employees to recognize this need for greater development, continuing professional education, where they develop these skills in the digital space. They're leveraging some of our RPA courses, We've got Ethics in the Digital Age series, data analytics and visualization courses as well. And they also have a CMA track for Certified Management Accountant. And there's a technology and analytics component of that exam as well. So Masco is recognizing this need for functional transformation and has stood up programs to be able to align with that. Another of our corporate sponsors, corporate partners rather, is Johnson & Johnson. And we've seen that they are leveraging ways to bolster skills within their organization. One of their main goals behind something they call the Finance Leadership Development Program is to make sure that they have recent college graduates from fields such as accounting, finance, economics, data analysis, and technology. And they're selecting them for this program to be able to go through different rotational assignments. And through that, they're encouraging them to also prepare for the CMA exam, but also to develop these skills that we're talking about today, the digital skills that are needed. So there's technical and leadership development there as well. And I offer these examples of action that we can take within our respective organizations to prepare our teams to meet future demands and to implement development programs for digital solutions all the same. Another that I call out is Arcadis, headquartered in Amsterdam, team of approximately 27,000 people in more than 70 countries, and they've been involved in some of the world's largest products, the London Underground, the Art Institute of Chicago, a host of bridges, airport terminals, hospitals, and much more. And in North America, they employ approximately 200 people in their finance team. Their leading global design and consultancy company is dedicated to improving the quality of life. And so what we saw in this instance, in the midst of new technology and disruptions that their finance team faced, they're leveraging some of our resources from an educational perspective to help address pressing issues like talent management and staff development. We have a tool called Career Driver, and that tool is allowing people to take a look at, what do I need to do for the future? How do I meet future demands for competency? They can take an assessment. Individuals can take an assessment, review the results of that assessment with their managers, and prepare a career development plan to meet quarterly and track their progress. We also have a competency framework, and we speak through different ways that we can develop people in each of those respective areas that you see called out in the framework there. As we close out, as we think about preparing for the future and bolstering some of these capabilities, we certainly need to focus more heavily on data analytics. There's a statistics lens. There is data and data applications as we think through if we want to start with programming languages like R or Python, if we're leveraging business intelligence tools, Tableau, Power BI. We also have others as we think about intelligent automation, implementing solutions with some of perhaps the leading RPA vendors, your UiPath, your Automation Anywhere, and Blue Prism. So I am happy to pause there. I'm hopeful that these insights offered a bit of a glimpse into the global picture, the state of the controllership function as it relates to preparedness for the digital age, offering a bit of a glimpse into some use cases for how some organizations are developing their teams and preparing their teams for the future. Happy to entertain any questions if there's a forum for that. Otherwise, feel free to connect with me at a later date, perhaps on LinkedIn or otherwise, and happy for you to enjoy the rest of your program today.